So this is my CS499 code review. I'll be analyzing my code for my CS360 project I made, which is a mobile application that tracks uh, user weights over time and handle. It allows users to create an account, log in, add new weight entries, update new weight entries, delete any weight entries, and yeah, we go from there. I have a checklist right here I'm going to be going through. Does the code completely incorrectly implements the design? Yes, it does. I mean, I have a weight activity database, handles the database, data display activity, handle the display of the database, um, information. And I have a main activity that handles the logging in, creating new accounts. Does the code conform to any pertinent coding standards, and is the code well structured, consistent in style, and consistently formatted? I mean, it is well structured. Have a main activity, handling the login, creating new accounts. We have a data. We have a database, creates a database, updates the database whenever new weights are added, or edited, or deleted. Then we have a display activity, which displays all the weight entries we have in our database, loads them, deletes them, updates them. So for those two, is code well structured, conform to any yes good coding standards, everything well structured, consistently formatted. Are there any uncalled for or unneeded procedures on any unreachable code? Yes, we do have one. This weight adapter I have right here, it's not really being used right here, this one, because the reason is I'm actually using this adapter right here, the weight entry, for most of it. I thought this weight adapter was, I mean, it was taking or it was doing more than I wanted it to do because I had a different activity taking care of actually getting the view. And then for weight entry, we have this function right here for setting the date. It's unreachable because whenever a new entry is added, it'll automatically select a new date right here, get the current date, so you can't actually set like a date from back then. You'll get the current date at that time. Are there any on call? Yes, that one. Are there any leftover stuff? Yes, the ones I just mentioned. Can any code be replaced by cards, XML, reusable components, or library functions? Are there any blocks of repeated code that could be condensed in a single procedure? Yes. For that second one, I got one right here that handles, I think it's my database helper. No, add wait. No, for my SMS. Is it this one? Yes, I have a SMS feature where the user can accept permissions and it will send a text message every time any update or deleting or adding takes place. But I can't find it. Where is it? Database, data display. Could be right here. Yeah, it should be right here. This could be put together instead of having separate functions for that. Can any codes be replaced by no? Are there any blocks or repeated code that could be condensed or into a single procedure? That would be one of them. Can any code be replaced by calls to external reusing components or library functions? Nah, my code wouldn't. There could be one or two, but most of it wouldn't be able to be replaced by calls. Maybe the database part of it could be replaced using external components. It is using external components, but yes, on my database side, code could be replaced by calls to external components. Are there any? Oh no, is storage use sufficient? Yes, storage use was sufficient. Um, we're storing weight entries base consists of an ID, a weight, and a date under a user ID. Are symbolics used rather than magic number constants, string constants? Are their modules excessively complex and should be restructured, split into multiple routines? No, I don't have any modules excessively complex. Everything's pretty much, I mean, delete weight from database, update weights from database. They have their own. The basically the function has only um, one thing it does. They don't try to delete, update, or add in one single function. Everything takes care of just one thing. So I would say they're not excessively complex and are shouldn't be restructured. They're already split into multiple routines, so that was already taken care of. Symbolics use, yeah, symbolics are used for any of my string constants. We don't have like a magic number or nothing like that. This is a code clearly and adequately documented. Commenting style, when an easy to maintain company commenting style, are all comments consistent with code? Yes. All my code has comments for each block of code showing what it that code does, and whenever I believe commenting is the best part, like the most crucial part when coding, because it will allow you to find bugs easier, know where, like let's say you have a bug or something saying the user can't log in, you could just go back to the main activity and look into the where it validates user login, the input. So for are all variables properly defined with meaningful, consistent, and clear names? Yes. Do all signed variables have proper type consistency or casting? And are there any redundant or unused variables? I don't have any unused variables. They are well named for what they're storing, username, password, what the buttons do, my database. So they are well structured, well named for what they store or what they do. And I don't have any unused variables. Everything's being used. Everything has good, proper consistency and casting. Does the code avoid comparing floating point numbers for equality? I don't really. My code doesn't really deal with numbers, and since most of it is just updating, deleting, adding, and it's not really comparing other than making sure my database is not null and it's actually there. Are all loops, branches, and logic construction complete, correct, and properly nested? Yes, all my loops are well structured and handle or handle what they're trying to do. Like let's say for this do while loop, it will go through each individual weight entry, pull out every other information, while this is true. Are all cases covered? Does every case statement have a default? Are all loop termination condition obvious? Yes, everything's obvious. All the do while, this is the only loop I have, and it shows a obvious termination of the loop. Are indexes subscript properly initialized just prior to the loop? Can any statements that are enclosed within loops be placed outside of loops? And does the code in the loop avoid manipulating the index variable or using it upon exit from the loop? Yes, so my indexes are properly initialized as part of the loop, and none of the statements can be placed outside because I'm loading multiple wait entries in the loop. Does the code in the loop avoid manipulating the index? It doesn't avoid it, it's actually manipulating the index variable because it's the index variable is being changed for each individual wait entry. For example, right here, the ID is being manipulated by getting the ID of each wait entry. The date is being manipulated for each date of each wait entry, and the same for the wait. And no code, no part of my statements can be placed outside the loop. Our indexes, pointers, and subscript tested against array record file bounds. Our imported data and the imported arguments tested for validity completeness. Our output variables assigned. Yes. Everything's well structured. And all the imported data arguments tested for yes. It makes sure my database is there whenever it displays or tries to load. Wait, so make sure my database is not no. So for this, they are tested for validity and completeness because it may make sure each individual ID for my wait entry or each individual property, like right here. Where is it at? Right here. My row more than if rows updated is greater than 0, display wait entry updated. I'm trying to find wait entry. Wait it up there. Right here. Try queries the database, find matching user conditions. Are all output variables assigned? Are the correct data operator on each statement? Is every memory allocation deallocated? I would say for the memory, not everything's deallocated until the user logs out. Are timeouts for error traps used for external device access? No, I would still need to implement this one. Are files checked for existence before attempting to access them? Yes. It makes sure a database is present before it tries to access any of the wait entries whenever are all files and devices left in the correct state upon program termination? Yes, everything is correct in the because whenever the user logs out, whenever the user logs out, the the database remains the same. The user's entries are saved, and he could always log back in and load the entries back again. We won't have any of the files deleted or anything like that. So for improvement, for my first category for software engineering design, I decided to maybe improve the model view controller a little bit better, and I decided to add a graph that tracks or shows the weight and the weight progress of the user in a graph for it. Like it will try to put all the weight entries together and display it in a graph. For category 2, I use algorithms and data structures. I for algorithms and data structures, I'm gonna use the same, the Weight Tracker Pro program, and I want to be able to have a way for the user to search a certain entry, a certain date, maybe search multiple entries within certain dates. And for my last one, the databases, I decided to be able to have a backup, export my database or export the database weight entries for a certain user, took a backup CSV file. That will conclude my code review. I had a longer review, but I had issues with my microphone, and so I had no audio in it. So I kind of try to seam through this one as much as I could, and I'm gonna submit my code for my unedited code, just this one that I have, and I'm gonna try to my best to complete those 3 categories. I'm gonna be using this same program for all the 3 categories. And this summarizes my code. This is Martin Garza taking the CS 499 class.